people always put money as a goal, because more money is not just greedy. It's freedom. It's just choice. You have a lot more choices out of it. Money means a lot of things, and it's not bad.
Right.
And if you have something in your head that says rich people are bad, having money is bad, it's hard to manifest a lot of money. So we do a lot of work around that. But it's crazy, the stuff that comes up, in terms of working with money.
Right.
And what they do. But yeah, I've had several people come in. It's like a 6-week course. They're like, well, at least I could get a start on, getting rid of all the debt. And within 6 weeks, it shocked them. They got rid of all of it. Things, when you set an intention and you write it down, which is something we do with manifestation work, it's kind of works on your behalf.
Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Money and You Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. So excited about today's show. We're really going to get into love and money today. And I have a super special guest who is an expert on love. I'm the expert on money. She's the expert on love. And we're going to have a great show tying those two things together so we can help you create a great relationship with your money. So before Kathryn Alice comes on with me, I'm going to tell you a little about her. Kathryn Alice is a best-selling author with an internationally known brand. She is one of the most successful life coaches in the world. She directed Agape's crisis support team for 6 years. Her work has helped tens of thousands find love and has been featured in Psychology Today, Parade Magazine, The New York Times, AP, Daily Mail, Body and Soul Magazine, and on Montel and NBC. She teaches all over the world and has mentored many well-known teachers to their success. Welcome, Kathryn.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. And
me too.
We've talked about doing this for a long time. We finally are.
Yay.
We're good friends. And so it's always kind of more fun and funny, sort of, to have a good friend on and sit here and be all professional with one another, but we'll do it. So, why don't you tell everybody more about your background, where you came from and how you got to the place of being an expert in the area of relationships and love?
Well, as you mentioned in my bio, I used to direct a crisis support team, and the largest number of people coming in suicidal were on relationship and love issues. And money was also a big issue as well, like career. And so I started teaching workshops on different areas of crisis, and the relationship ones really went big. A lot of people dealing with divorce and breakups and things like that. And so I just would have lines around the corner. And so I started specializing a little more on relationships and love, finding love, getting over a breakup. And so that's how that started. And it just kept going well. So by the time I sold my first book, I had a large following in several cities.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And that book is?
It's called Love Will Find You.
And can you summarize the book a little? Because your book is unique and helps you to find love in some ways that are different than other books. So,
yeah, well, I'm a big fan of attracting rather than trying to find something. So that's why the name of this book is Love Will Find You. And I believe that, when you're in the right energy and you get rid of things that might have been in the way, bad beliefs, then it can come to you. And it often does. Introverts love my work because they don't like to get out much. And if love could possibly come through the window or the door, that's helpful. And I have people started sending, you don't know this, but people started sending me letters back when I first started doing this saying, you're not going to believe it, Kathryn, but I met somebody literally staying at home. So I have all these love stories of people meeting someone without leaving the house, which is not recommended. But if you're super introverted to the point of hermit, it helps. So I'm a big believer in law of attraction.
Yes. And that's one of the things that we share and that we do some work together in terms of manifesting for, ourselves, our families, our friends. I I was going to do this later, but do you want to just share kind of a little about the process that we do, every now and then when we get together and why we do this?
Well, Michelle and I do kind of a mastermind work days together. We live really close to each other, and we're good friends. And when we do it, we'll set intentions we're going to get done that day. And we do it. We sit sometimes it's 12 hours because we'll go walk on the beach and take a break. Then we'll go to dinner, but we always do a ritual before we end where we set intentions, and not just for love. Back in the day, I used to deal with every point of crisis. I still work with people on money and other issues that come up. It's hard to contain it just to love. And so we'll write down intentions for our lives. We have kids, and so we know that we can only have so much influence on our kids, but we'll even write intentions for them, many of which comes true. But we write down very specifically what we want to happen in the next segment of our lives. We do up to, maybe 20 or more sometimes. Yeah. We put them it's a little ritual. So we put them in a little jar that Michelle actually gave me. We put a little candle on top because it's a candle holder, and we light the candle, and it's an votive, so it'll burn out in 2 hours, so it's not too hazardous. But I really have seen an effect, because then next time we do a mastermind, we go through all of the little intentions, the little piece of paper of intentions, and it's crazy how many we pull out. I have another box where I put the things that have happened, and it's crazy how many things that we intended actually happen. And sometimes I forget, and I'm like, oh my God, this happened. So yeah, I enjoy that a lot. I hope we do that forever.
I know. And I enjoy it a lot too. And really, you sort of introduced me to that. But, anything that you can do to set an intention and have a ritual around that intention and put it out there to the universe, I think oftentimes it magically seems to come to you in some form.
Well, rituals work. That's why they're threaded throughout the course of human civilization. Everywhere you look, there's always religion, ritual, different things, because they work. Research shows that. Right. And so we're, an example of a ritual, and it's worked for us very well. And certainly working with people, even on money issues, I try to introduce some ritual into that because it helps, to be mindful about it.
100%. And that's one of the things that we do in my Money Date program is we learn to have these dates with your money every week. And there's a lot of ritual in that too. And even setting yourself up. And a lot of what this show is going to be about is sort of the parallels of your relationship with money and your other real human relationships out there in your life, and how you can shift your perspective around money to see it that way. Money is something that we have a relationship with from the time we're little and we ask our moms for some ice cream money to the very end. It doesn't go away. And so it's best to not have a dysfunctional money relationship, just like it's best to not have that in your other relationships. And there's skills and there's tools that can help you do that. So one of them is rituals. I totally agree. I think rituals around everything, even, when you're going into time spent with your money, let's call it a money date, to light a candle, to have your favorite cup of tea or coffee or whatever with you, to make it in a nice space that makes you feel good. A lot of it is about feeling good, right?
A lot of it is making it fun, even because we have fun,
right?
We get a lot done those days, and we do this ritual that we never don't do. Like we always end that way for a reason, because it actually works. But it's also fun. We like doing it. We like kind of telling each other what is our next goal that we're doing, what are our intentions, and supporting each other in that. And so there's value in it a lot.
Even that is a really great point, because I think, we're sort of open about, I wish I'd meet, a soulmate or a partner or, whatever. We don't really put our money desires out there in front of people. I think there's so
a taboo.
Exactly.
There's a taboo about talking about money. We do very freely. And I know you encourage that with people. And it's coming out of this. It's how we know now that there's a gender gap in pay. It's because all of a sudden it's not such a big secret. People are actually saying it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's value in that, and it's healthy. So.
Yeah, we have so much internal judgment around money. So, sharing with somebody that you wish you could get out of debt or whatever it is, it puts you in kind of a vulnerable place. But I feel like there are comparisons with regular relationships with that. Like you do have to be vulnerable. You do have to open up.
You do. And money can be a big issue with the couple unless it's addressed, unless you have some parameters and kind of make it fun. Money should be fun because it is fun. It's fun spending money anyway, for sure.
That is true. And hopefully it's fun earning money.
It's fun earning money. It's fun taking care of money if you do it right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about taking care of your real relationships. Like, what are some of the things that you have found people can do in their love lives that help to nurture and, foster the relationship?
Yeah. Well, chapter 10 in that book that was, that we talked about, Level Find You, is called A Relationship from Heaven. And it's how to keep it good. I'm not a big one to believe relationships have to be hard work. If you're with the right person, it's really easy. And then keeping it is not such a chore. You're motivated because you're in love and you want to be. And so some of the components are to spend time together. Same with money. Yeah. You could do like a money Monday, which is sometimes what I'll do. I'll do business planning, deal with the accounts, move money around as needed, pay, stuff like that. So spending time together, making sure you're communicating. And so money too, you can't put it or your relationship in the corner and not ever pay attention to it.
Right.
You have to give it some attention and some care and nurturing. That's very important. And if an issue arises, you do have to deal with it in a sane way, not yelling at, screaming at your banker or, being depressed for weeks because you ran out of money, but actually constructively dealing with it. You can't ignore it. You have to communicate. And so there's this exercise I did way back in the day. I was reading a book on money and it was take a $20 bill and look at it. And what are your thoughts about it? And my thought in those days was, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. Money just goes away. So I had to change my belief about that $20 bill. It'll come and go. That there's an inflow and an outflow. And it's my friend. I can buy a lot with that $20. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
So even the way you're thinking about relationships, some people would think a relationship's going to confine me. With the right person, it's endlessly exciting. And we have to have that same kind of belief change about money so that it's exciting and it's worth tending and find fun ways to tend to it.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And if you can keep that energy, because energy is so important, and because it will, like any relationship, it's going to have ups and downs. It's not going to be ideal every second. Things are going to happen. External things are going to happen. Kids are going to have problems, whatever it is. And it's going to put a strain, same with money. You're going to lose your job. Something is going to happen that's going to put some stress into that relationship.
Yeah.
And then the emotions come up. And I feel like that's where how do you,
well, that's a big one. One of the modules I give people I work with is called No Buttons to Push. And it's all about becoming imperturbable and unbothered. And so you can't control everything around you, but you can control how you react to it. And so we're all allowed a couple moments of freaking out. But after that, we need to start getting a grip. The earlier we can, the less it'll go into complete frenzy or, downward spiral. That once you get momentum, it's harder. And so I teach people how to do that. It's one of the big things that make things go better for people.
Yeah. So that's great. And that is more of a mindset than, is there action to take? How do you become...
there's a lot of actions, but the thing is, I always feel like 3/4 of everything is mindset.
Yeah.
And then the last quarter is doing something, like an actual action. And by the time you do the action, if you get your mindset, you're putting gas in the tank, you can get a lot further. So, the things that I do for that particular module is identify the buttons. Look for the next week. What is getting me off center? In this case, what's getting me off center about money?
Yeah.
What are my bad thoughts about it? Once you get them, then we want to imagine a better feeling thought.
Right.
Money, there's never enough money like I had with the $20 bill there's an inflow and outflow. I have a lot of $20 bills, hopefully millions in my lifetime. Right.
Yeah.
And so you start shifting, you write a better feeling thought. And then every time it comes up, you resolve that I'm going to use some tools to put the kibosh on this, to get rid of it and not let it spiral out of control. And that takes a lot of effort because there's something about getting in a bad place that wants to feed on itself. It's like nobody can tell you anything. You just feel bad. And so I work with people to realize, okay, I'm about to go downhill into the rabbit hole, and I'm going to pull myself back. I'm going to think of better feeling thoughts. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to distract myself by watching a funny video on TikTok, something to interrupt it.
Right.
Whatever it may be. Walk in nature, something we do a lot.
Right.
Like walking at the beach, just to kind of get to a better headspace. And it works for you and me a lot.
Yeah.
We do that.
Yeah. And you're reminding me of this, the whole idea of the patterns we get into and how to recognize those patterns and really create new, better patterns. So, and we certainly get into those with money. A lot of it's our upbringing. We were told certain things, and so we operate in certain ways. But, and it's hard to see those patterns. They become so automatic that it almost takes an outsider to say, well, I see that you keep doing
that's
this.
where coaching comes in handy. I have people do that exercise. Sometimes they'll set an alarm like 3-4 times a day. What is my state? Or when they're really off center, feel bad, you're having a bad thought, start noticing, and that can help you with the pattern. I know some work you do that I love is about, you answer this quiz and you figure out, what is my big money archetype? What are my patterns? Because everybody's different, how we treat money, how we think of it, and how we spend it. And there's certain ones that really need work to come into balance. And it's very helpful. It's hard to break patterns, but it really helps.
Well, and I imagine in your work, you're seeing so many patterns in relationships that either keep people, I don't know, either having conflict or, rejecting people or whatever.
Being attracted to unavailable guys, is a big one. But and I have a couple modules on, like, one's called Pattern Busters.
Oh.
So I mean, I do a lot of models, but that one is, you could do it yourself.
Right.
You know yourself better. So you start noticing, you make a list, and then we work with it. And, what would it look like to not have that pattern? Imagine that. And what would I have to do differently to buck that pattern? For example, with unavailable guys, you just notice the minute that they prove unavailable, next you move on, even if it's hard, so.
Interesting. I really love that, because I think I had a thought that flew out of my head. Imagine that. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that, whatever it was. It was a good one, though. I love this because I love equating the relationship with your relationship with money. And I think the quicker we recognize that we have a relationship with money, the better. At least
it's so important.
It's so important, and it's so kind of overlooked. It's like money's just this thing that I have to deal with. And you had a story that you told me about how you used to feel, because again, it goes back to feelings and emotion, but how you used to feel about tax time. Do you want to share that? That was great.
Yeah. Well, my husband and I, we got together. He has a financial background. I don't. And it was like a little bit of a source of conflict, because I was a mess in terms of getting stuff ready. It got way more complicated when we incorporated. Just taxes were like a nightmare from hell. And we were on the waiting list for this like top-notch accountant. We finally got in, and it changed everything about taxes, because we decided we had to court this guy. He's like a really well-known accountant and hard to get. So we would go in and meet him, which most people just did phone or whatever, electronic. And we got to know him, the most delightful personality. And we'd always have lunch after we'd see him. And we loved him. And he took so much off our hands and saved us a lot of money. We got a refund for a previous tax year. It was unbelievable. And then it just became romantic. We look forward to going to the accountant and dealing with him. We socialize with him and his wife now. And so taxes became this kind of fun thing. Like, it's so weird that taxes will be nice, but they became kind of a fun thing. And we love seeing him, and he's showed us so many things to do that were different. And it just feels like, okay, it's in its place. It's taken care of. It's actually fun to deal with it. We like it. And before, it was just a source of contention. We'd fight over it. It was a big mess. So
I love that, because mostly what changed there was a mindset. Obviously your accountant changed too. Yeah. But this idea that tax time could
be fun.
Could be fun. And
I know.
That's a huge shift, but I feel like you can do that almost with any money area, even things like paying debt. And, sometimes people talk about, putting a thank you in the memo line of a check, where you just say,
and a little heart, or like the money game, right? Where you pay off your debt. I've had people, like, I remember, I teach a general manifestation course, and people always put money as a goal, because more money is not just greedy. It's freedom. It's just choice. You have a lot more choices out of it. Money means a lot of things, and it's not bad.
Right.
And if you have something in your head that says rich people are bad, having money is bad, it's hard to manifest a lot of money. So we do a lot of work around that. But it's crazy, the stuff that comes up, in terms of working with money,
right,
and what they do. But yeah, I've had several people come in. It's like a 6-week course. They're like, well, at least I could get a start on, getting rid of all the debt. And within 6 weeks, it shocked them. They got rid of all of it. Things, when you set an intention and you write it down, which is something we do with manifestation work, it's kind of works on your behalf. And so out of the blue, windfalls would happen. They could negotiate down debt. All kinds of things happen. So after 6 weeks, like an unbelievable 6 figures worth of debt evaporated. The credit went up, like everything got better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love that. And for listeners, I usually try to kind of reiterate this point that it's really a two-pronged thing. You've got to change your mindset and you've got to take action.
Yeah.
Like, debt's not going to go away if you don't make a payment, but it is going to go away if you have that new, fresh mindset around your ability to pay it off.
Yeah, a way is made.
You do the stuff.
That's right. And so things can happen that don't seem in the realm of possibility. If we get too in our heads about it, we forget, like, things can happen out of the blue. It's not all logical. I believe that there's a force that helps us, and things can line up, that the power of intention, and research has backed that up. It may sound kind of woo-woo, but research has backed up that if you set an intention about something, that there's a correspondence in the universe. They even, one time, these quantum physicists did it. They did something on Earth that changed a molecule of water, and they put part of the water on the spaceship. And literally the molecular structure of the spaceship water, when it came back down, had changed too. And so I feel like there are things that we don't get. One day science will probably explain it, that when you do something, there are things that we don't even understand that start happening to help make that happen.
Yeah, I definitely think we don't fully understand it, but that it's happening out there.
And it's been for us.
Yeah.
It's proven true for us as well. So.
Yeah, and it's a conscious practice. It's not just laying in bed in the morning going, oh, I want this. I mean, there's more to it than just wanting something, although, that helps too. But, and so when you are helping someone to find, new love in their life, obviously the want is already there. So then what else is needed?
We do set an intention just like you and I do, and they write it down. And then, and in fact, at the time of us recording, Valentine's is coming out. And I ask everybody, if you're single, go get a Valentine already and write, and save it. And you're kind of proactively thinking, okay, love is on the way. And it's crazy how many times people end up giving that card to that person, like on their wedding day or on the next Valentine or whatever it is. So we set an intention. Then I use a lot of guided meditations, because guided meditation is another way to buck those patterns, to do something different. And I do something called a soul call. And the soul call is for your person, wherever they are. And I feel like they hear it because I hear weird stories later with people who've done this. I used to do a lot of live workshops, and then they'd email and say, Kathryn, it was just like that soul call, like it happened. I feel like you could do that with money.
I was just thinking that this whole time. Call forth your money.
Or call forth your, $1 billion idea. Or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's not money itself. It's something that is going to create the money, like an idea or a business partner or whatever it is.
Or winning the lottery.
Yeah. People have done that.
They have.
Who have set an intention to win the lottery.
Well, there's a story I read recently in like I think it was Atlantic magazine. I can't remember. But it was about a lady who had planned on it. And she's the one, they talk about the lottery curse. Yeah. But she bucked the lottery curse because she was ready. She had her financial planner. She already knew what she was going to do with it. And she had adopted. Her sister died and and adopted her sister's 6 kids. And so she was able to send all those kids to college. She already knew. She was so sure she would win it, and she did. And she was able to buy a big enough house for all the kids and put them through college. And, and so I think planning for something, things extraordinary out of the realm of seeming possibility will happen.
Well, and that's the biggest thing, I think, with manifestation is seeing beyond your reality into, expecting a possibility that you can't figure out exactly how it's going to happen in this moment.
And getting too caught up in the how can be reductive too. Right. I totally agree with that. I think it's so important to do that. Anybody who ever got beyond what their own family experience, let's say you did grow up in poverty, had to think beyond what they knew, because they didn't know how money would happen.
Right.
They didn't know how they get there, but they just start imagining it and putting their headspace more in that.
Right.
And then it can happen.
Yeah. I do feel like money is really quite the same in terms of how you relate to it and how you do these different manifestation techniques. I think you can do the same thing.
Well, if you grew up rich, it's so much easier to make money. You have an idea in your head, like a template. If you grew up poor, studies show the stress of rising above your means is tremendous because it's such a change that has to happen. And I like what you're doing, because you're helping people who may have never had money get there.
Yeah. Well, and, ironically, people who are fine, they may not be super wealthy, but they're doing great. They're working, whatever. And they still oftentimes don't know themselves with money. And it's almost like it's just kind of happened to them.
I swear they don't. It's so crazy. Like, that's why I love what you do, because there's a part that Michelle does where she analyzes your money archetypes. And it's like, oh my God, you're like, why did I never know this?
Yeah.
About my own money patterns.
Yeah. It's a great starting point. That's actually how I got into it, because I actually did that assessment myself. And I'm like, wow, that explains like all the weird stuff I've been doing.
It does. And then you can work with it and hopefully heal the part that's out of whack.
Yeah.
So, and then you get a lot more abundant.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. And so let's go back to kind of equating. You have a love and manifestation club, and maybe you can tell people what that's about, and then how you could even use some of the things that you do in that club with people and their money.
Is that when we do?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's true. You did say people come in with...
Well, I even have a module on money. A lot of what I do, like I have over 100 modules of different work. I've specialized because I've been working with clients for a long time. And it comes up. And it comes up with couples,
Yeah.
And so it's like the Love and Manifestors Club. I used to have it a long time ago. And then I let it go when we were traveling and the kids were little. Now I'm going back to it. But it's like a monthly coaching program that people can get. We're opening it back up soon. It got full and we only let people in here and there, but they get a lot of coaching. And so we set 3 to 4 intentions. Everybody has a money one, because we all could use more money, no matter, unless you're, to the multi-billionaire level. Then you have other things.
Then they still want more money, so it doesn't really matter.
But they at least want other things. Our nature is one of expansion, so we always want more things. And so, I work with them on love, and money is similar. What are you doing that's kind of keeping money away? What is your headspace? What is your emotional, mental climate that may be defeating you? What can we do easier? One of the things you did with me, like way back when we first met, that I love, and I do a form of it, but not exactly, was the profit pyramid. What money, what of your time are you putting in that's really not that valuable? It's not reaping that much reward. What is the place where you put your time that really does? And even at a job, that's true.
Even in anything, I think that whole idea of we're not that conscious of where we put our time either.
And we should be.
We're not that conscious of what we're doing with our money. We're not that conscious of what we're doing with our time. 2 of the most important things in our life. Hopefully we're more conscious of what we're doing with our person, whoever that is.
Well, even then, after you've been married a while, you could start taking them for granted.
Right.
And so we put a date night, even with all the kids, date night, no matter what. And it's always magical. Weird stuff happens. And we remember how much we enjoy each other. For anniversaries, we'll go on date weekend or date trip to Europe, something like that. We always have so much fun together. It's like, okay, but take away the kids and we still have fun. But yes, and so the Love Club, Love and Manifestors Club now, it forces people to spend time on the things that really matter to them and that where they're going to reap the most reward.
Right.
And so we have get it done hours once a week for 2 hours.
Right.
And there's a coach sitting there and we break it up kind of like the book Atomic Habits, break it up into very important habits and do that. So they work on their love stuff, if they're looking for love, they take the time to get on the dating app and actually finish their profile or plan a couple of things where they could meet people,
right?
If they've been shy about actually being around other single people. And money, money as well.
Yeah. So, when you focus on something, obviously it takes on a whole, new meaning in your life. And so people typically, well, not typically, but a lot of people avoid money altogether. They don't want to look at their accounts. They don't want to look at their credit card bills. They really don't want to, do their profit and loss, or it's a whole avoidance thing. So obviously that doesn't work in your favor to avoid it. So, that's why we have money dates, to go and connect with your money, just like you're talking about.
I love your money
dates. But the problem with money, and maybe it's the problem with people too, is when I first was doing this, I would tell people, okay, get on your calendar, put a weekly money date. But then they wouldn't really know what to do on the money date. So they'd go and sort of sit there and look at their accounts and open a bill or pay a bill. And that's not really what I meant. And but I came to realize that people don't have enough financial education for the most part, or enough of a track record of doing different things with their money to know what to do. So nobody really taught them. So if you have a series of these dates and you try to do something different on each one of them to gain control over your financial situation, to manage your money, to get into new things that you haven't had time to get into, that is super helpful. With what about the people who they go on these dates, but how do you make it exciting? Because that's what we have to do with money. We have to make it more exciting. We have to make it broader in scope, what we're doing. So how does that compare? Like if people are going on money, because I remember at one point, probably a therapist telling me that me and my husband should have more money dates. But half the time be like, it would come around that day and you'd be like, I'm tired. Do you really want to go on this date? Or you'd go just go to dinner or so how do you keep it from kind of being limited and not so fun, like, in the money world, but I'm asking you about the other world.
Yeah, well, we try to do things we like, and we kind of know what we like. But one time we went to Vegas. We won a trip. So we go to Vegas, and we have this amazing, experience, like all these experiences they plan. But then one day we're like, well, we don't have anything to do. Let's just go walk around. Now, I, with my planning self, would have had to, do all these things to make this happen. My husband, with his he's very in the flow. We're walking by and this guy is saying, second row tickets to the O show. Well, at the time it was a 6-month wait list for the O show. You couldn't get in. And we got these friggin' amazing tickets for less than the face value because they were trying to get rid of them. Yeah. And it just, that's the kind of magic that happens all the time. And so we honor it. We try to plan what we want. But at this point, every time we go out, some crazy magical thing, we have fun. We just saw dolphins in the dark. There was a big moon. We were at in Soho House in Malibu. Yeah. And the waiter's like, oh my gosh, dolphins. We look over, who sees a dolphin in the middle of the night?
Moonlight. That's
I know.
Really cool.
It was like, are you kidding me? So we always have these crazy magical things. And so now, of course, we do look forward to them. Right. And we know even if we're not in the mood, if we can get out and have some time together, something really cool is going to happen. And we do enjoy each other's company. Right. So,
yeah, I love that. And that just brings up, similar things that can come from your money if you connect with it enough and you kind of let there be some freedom from your kind of limited or negative thoughts around it and have this expectation of what cool magical thing could happen, because it happens with money too. Every now and then, I'm opening my mail and there's a check instead of a bill and something I didn't expect.
Totally. And it's fun. You could make a list of all the windfalls you got in your life that you were not expecting, like this check just out of the blue. And if you do, weirdly enough, all of a sudden you'll have more windfalls.
Yeah,
you're
speak to that a little bit, because I was thinking that when you were talking about the wins earlier, and how important it is to focus on that too, to actually notice it. Like, instead of just going on to the next thing on your to-do list, to like stop, and what kind of a ritual can you do?
Well, I am a big person to celebrate every single thing. So we keep, bubbly cider on hand, and if somebody gets their braces off, we celebrate like for anything, because it's so easy to let it go by, but you worked for it, or it's just such an amazing thing. And so I would love everybody to notice that, and to even keep track of all the magic and the unexpected good that happens. What you focus on grows, and so we want to focus on that kind of thing, because who doesn't want more magic or more windfalls?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and all of that contributes to making money fun and making it, more enjoyable to interact with it, just like with
just make it fun, whatever it is. I know you make it fun. Just even this stuff you do around money, and having accountability, having a coach where you like them, because Michelle's very likable, and so find somebody you like and work with them, and like just like our accountant, like we love him. He's not like an accountant personality,
right?
He's so fun, and somehow it'll just transform.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think, going back into, while you're doing your practical actions, to go back into kind of that spiritual side and notice, be appreciative, be grateful, and it does become this cycle of good things happening. And not that nothing will go wrong, or
life happens, if you're focused on all the good stuff, that bad part can go away quicker, and we'll get to get back on the charm to life train.
Right. And hopefully your mindset is in a place where when the bad thing happens, it's not going to throw you. You're going to be, it might throw you a tiny, but basically you'll come back to it with some creative solution for things, and you'll have the belief that you can handle it.
Totally. And it helps just to, if something bad happens.
There's a breakup. And
well, that's the hardest thing that I ever deal with. But definitely if you can maybe take time away for it and have some fun, or just take a vacation for a minute, the answer will come much more easily than going into tragedy about the whole thing.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I don't like to make it seem like don't have your feelings, I mean, if you're super sad, be super sad. But
we call that the spiritual bypass. When you sweep it under the rug and it doesn't work. Yeah. You do have to deal with it. You don't have to dwell on it too long.
Right.
But you do have to process.
Well, for an example, with a breakup, you're going to be sad, obviously. I mean, especially if you don't want the breakup. So
yeah, but some people are sad longer than the relationship lasted. It was a 6-month relationship, and they come 2 years later and they're still hung up on this person.
Right.
So,
and I see that too with people, and like credit, for example. If you had a terrible experience with a huge amount of debt and you paid off, then you never want to get in debt again, potentially. But, it might be helpful for you to borrow.
Well, there's
for
good
something.
debt.
There is good
some
debt.
People with money, when their interest rate's low, they actually do finance a lot of stuff and make more money off keeping their money in something that makes more, that.
So kind of not allowing these bad experiences to limit you in the future as you go forward.
And a lot of people, when they break up, they're like, I'm never dating again. All guys are crap. And of course we have to work on that, because they do have love ahead. They have to get over it. So
it's getting back to that place where you can see the good aspects of things. And,
it's definitely a mindset shift.
It's all a mindset.
And learning to do something differently so you don't keep getting the same result.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's huge. That is huge. And that brings us to habits and how you change those habits. So, that with money, habits are super important. Systems are important. Habits are important. How do you kind of institute a new habit for people?
I always start with intention. So I always write down, what do you want to happen next? And maybe you don't know, like you've never been, money's starting to come in and you don't know, but look around for the rich people. They tend to read a lot of self-help. They tend to get trusts, put their money in trust. And, they tend to have that account. They know, they're very familiar with bankers and, look at what they do. Right. And bankers are fun. If you get the right one, money can be a whole different thing. And so that's part of it, is write down what you want. Look at if you don't know what people do when they have that much money, find out and get yourself set up ahead of time. Like the lady who ended up winning the lottery.
Right.
That's very important habit. Do some inner work, guided meditations. I even have a guided meditation called the Release of Lack Mentality. I'm so known for my release work and getting over attachment with people that we did like this whole release kit. Because my best-selling download of all time on Audible is Releasing a Person. Yeah. And so everybody's like, this magical thing, release, all this stuff happens. So I have Release of Lack Mentality. So I do inner work on the guided meditation level. Yeah. That gets rid of sabotage subconsciously we don't even know we have. Right. And then making it fun, you know, putting a window, say Money Mondays, a 2-hour window in which you're going to read articles about money, talk to people, and maybe set up some new things like an automatic withdrawal for saving or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I love that. That's great. That's a great money date. And I also love something you mentioned. Not everybody is the same. So, you know, find that financial advisor or that banker who you can relate to, who you can. I go to my financial advisor and we talk about a lot of things now. She's fun and she's also on it and she will, you know, but I feel like she's a friend. I feel like she's wants to help me. And, you know, she's always super clear. She'll explain things that, you know, as many times as I need to understand them. She's great. So those people are out there. I think sometimes people, they don't have a good experience and they think, well, everybody's like that. But you can search around and find.
I would shop bankers. I would shop financial help. And when you find the right one, my mother-in-law has such an inspiring story because she was a single mom when my husband was 3 and she had 3 kids. But she found this great financial manager so that she had money her whole life. And she ended up leaving money to everybody when she died. And, you know, she went and got help. And she stuck by it and reaped the rewards, retired fairly early, fell in love at as a senior citizen. And the last days of her life were the best. It was a big whirlwind of doing whatever they wanted to, traveling all over the world. And that's what money can bring if you do it well. Yeah. And so she just found the right person who helped her and advised her and went by it and had a really great life.
Oh, I love that. So that's a good romance and finance combo there. I love that.
That's right.
So, well, we've got to wrap up, but it's been great having you here today. So much fun.
Thank you,
this was such an easy, fun conversation, and I love all your wisdom. Can you tell people how to connect with you? How to find your book?
Well, you can always find me on Amazon. Just search up Kathryn Alice. I'm all over there. I have a lot of books now. Or my website's KathrynAlice.com. If you go to events, we are opening the Love and Manifestors Club up very soon. And check it out if you want some regular support. That's the best way to find me. And if you're being drawn to my work or resonating, I would love to connect with you more. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. It was super fun to have you actually in the studio. So that's great. And thank you, UBN Go, for having a studio. We appreciate it. And for running this show and broadcasting it on all the podcast platforms and Roku and the Limit Free Life YouTube channel. You can find it all over. And please give us a review and share us with your friends. We really want to continue to bring you great money information, people who have different experiences and understandings of money so that you can learn. Because with money, education is a lot of what is going to help you out. And also, I hope this show is reminding you constantly to work on this relationship with money, because that is really the foundational piece and so very important. And hopefully you were able to see how fun this can be through today's show. And developing a relationship with money is not that different than developing the other relationships in your life. So thanks so much for being here. See you next week.